Greetings all. Thank you for coming again to On Being Frank. On this portrait of Mimi, I didn't do a step-by-step. I was too much in the moment and really got involved with painting her portrait. I'm going to go through a couple of my process steps though, so you're going to get a step-by-step, but not necessarily of the painting in progress, but actually how I go about working. I work on a panel, 9 by 12 panel. It's Centurion linen. I love that for sketching and especially for plein air painting. The Centurion linen is glued onto a mahogany laminate board, and that seems to work fine. And the laminate board doesn't warp like other boards. It's not quite as good as masonite, but it's the next best thing, and it's cheaper. If you can get a 4 by 8 panel for about anywhere between $10 and $15 depending on your locality. Next are my paints, and right now my favorite white is made by Gamblin. Can you see that? It's Gamblin's flake white replacement. It's kind of a pasty white. It has a lot of body, floats on the surface, doesn't sink into the canvas. I love this white. This is my new tool right now. I was painting a Mimi in my garage, so there was no direct light. The light was bouncing off the driveway onto her face, and it was somewhat overcast. So my palette was flake white replacement. My yellow was replaced by a Utrecht yellow ochre. I love this color. My red was a Utrecht cad red light. Then I used a Winsor Newton alizarin crimson for my cool red. I used a cobalt blue, and my next favorite color is Viridian, and I love that especially for portraits. And I think I used I put a little burnt sienna in there. That was it. Okay, next brushes. I use essentially 3 brushes when I paint. For backgrounds, I kind of do the Richard Schmidt thing. Big brush, like a number 10, 8 or 10 for the backgrounds. For lay-ins, I'm just using a filbert, like a 5, okay? For closer modeling, I use a Lange nickel, Badger. Although I had one where the hairs are falling apart, so I don't know about the quality. I can't vouch for the quality of some of these Lange nickels anymore, but I've used that. And then for some of the close detail work, a nice fine sable. Don't be cheap. Keep a brush that has a fine point. I highly recommend the brushes that Nelson Shanks uses, and those are the silvers. But I work with about a 6 or an 8. But keep a brush that has a sharp point. That is imperative, at least for the way that I work. Okay. Now, if you have a model that is very expressive and is not a professional model, sometimes you just might have an hour of getting some close values, and that's essentially what happened. I had about an hour to paint Mimi, and since we were talking, she was moving, so I right away I made the decision I'm not going to get a very accurate drawing here. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go for values and tones, and how the light works on her face, and work within the patterns of the cool light directly on the front of her face and the warm light in the shadowing. Nature kind of works that way. Now, cool does not necessarily mean blue. It just means cooler than the light source. So I decided to work in that approach, and that was the most effective way yesterday afternoon to paint Mimi's portrait. And then I took a photograph, but what I try to do, and what I highly recommend, is using a telephoto lens to photograph your subject. If you use a regular 55, if you're too close, it'll exaggerate it'll create a warpage with the face. So if you pull back, take a telephoto lens, you'll get a more accurate representation of their proportions. Okay, and so after I took the photograph, came back in, of course, we're talking digital photography, and put another couple hours into finishing her portrait. You'll see what I started with when I came into the studio, and then you'll see what I finished with. Again, I'm working, if you've been on my blog before, I work with a triangle. I see where one eye is, locate the other eye, and then I locate the bottom of the nose, and there's a triangle there. Okay, I'm a little bit, I'm working with the eyesight camera here, so you have to see, right, find your nose, there you go. Okay, so I work with that triangle, and when I get that triangle, then I make other proportions. Now, not everybody works that way. You literally have to find a way that works for you. But proportions are important. People see people all the time, so you could kind of screw up doing a landscape. And I'm not putting down landscapes, but you can move things around. But when you start moving things around on people's faces, people notice, and they go, there's something wrong with the nose or the mouth or the cheeks or the eyes. You know, one eye's going that way and the eye's going upper right, then you end up with the Picasso. And if that's what you want, that's cool. But if you want something anatomically proportionate, you're going to really have to start focusing. So I hope that helps. Enjoy, and we'll be talking to you later on Being Frank. Bye-bye.